Hi, I'm Madonna, this is Sanu, and we're going to show you the combinations between chakras, meridians, and organs. So I'll show you how this little process works. It's pretty cool. So what my intent is just to check each chakra individually and then see if there's an organ or a cranial bone that is creating an imbalance in the body. So there are chakras, there's chakras, the crown chakra, the brow chakra, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the solar plexus, the sacral, and then the base chakra. They're the main chakras we use, but there's also an 8th chakra on the bottom of the feet that I find is really important, especially these days because it's so hard for people to feel grounded in this world. We're not on the earth enough, we're not eating enough grounding foods, we're sort of doing all sorts of things that's throwing us out of balance. So we'll start with, I think we'll start with the grounding ones first because they sort of tend to work hand in hand. So we'll start with the base chakra. So firstly what I'll do is just put my hand over it and I stack that in or save that in. And I'm doing a double muscle test, hold, and that's locking. A lock means that it's more than 50% energized, but it could actually be hyperactive and overworking. Now, there's an organ associated with that, which is the adrenal glands, and the cranial bone associated with that is the sphenoid bone, which is either side of the eye. So I'm going to stack all those three things in. So save, that's what I'm doing with my jaw, and then the sphenoid bone, either side of the eyes. Save. So I've got all three of those in as the circuit. So now ask and hold. So that's unlocking. I'm going to see whether it locks if I switch the muscle back on again. So that's lengthen to strengthen. If there's only a little bit of stress, it should lock. If it still unlocks, it's a big amount of stress. Hold. Okay. So that's 3rd stage stress, which is chronic fatigue of the base chakra. So there's a couple of things that we do instantly. For a start, I'm going to just hold my hand over the base chakra and I'm going to pulse these little points here where the adrenals are. So I'm going to wait until I get pulsing on the adrenal glands. And I can feel some energy moving there with the base chakra. So what we're doing is telling the base chakra that when the adrenal glands are overworking, it doesn't need to freak out. The base chakra is about feeling safe and secure and happy and knowing our place on the earth, knowing that we're deserving to be here, knowing that we are entitled as human beings to take this space, this time, and do our learning. Okay, so I'm stacking this in, so save, and now I'm going to put the sphenoid, now I'm going to pulse the sphenoid bones. So the sphenoid bone goes from eye to eye and it goes around behind the eyes, and 5 out of 6 of the eye muscles on each side attaches to the sphenoid bone. So when we've got I personally know that my eyesight is worse when I'm under stress, and part of that is that the sphenoid bone is when it gets jammed, it compresses the cranial bones, and that stops cerebrospinal fluid moving around your brain, so your brain just doesn't cope as well as it normally should. Okay. And we can have all sorts of symptoms with the eyes that can be linked to this. So I'm getting a nice pulsing on the sphenoid bone. So once again, base chakra, adrenal glands, sphenoid bone. So I've gone save, and hold, and now that's locking. I'll see if it unlocks, see if push to mush works, and hold, and that's lovely. So we've taken that and normalized the energy in the base chakra. The next one up is the sacral chakra. So sacral connects to the occiput at the base of the skull, and it also links in with the sacrum, so on the lower spine, and the organ that it links in with is the reproductive system. So basically I'll stack in or save sacral chakra, just energetically ask the reproductive organs to be connected, and then I'm going to save in the occiput, then I'm going to save in the sacrum, my apologies, sacrum, and then the occiput at the base of the skull. Okay, and hold. Now push, so a lock is good, but we'll see whether it's a correct lock or whether it's overworking. So I'm doing push to mush and hold, and that's still locking, which means it's second stage stress. Second stage stress is when the body's running on adrenaline. So the sacral chakra is working really hard to keep you safe. So, okay. So firstly, I think I'll connect it to the occiput. Have you had headaches lately? Not really?
Not really, no.
When the occiput, so the base of the skull, when it's jammed, it can stop lots of blood supply going to the eyes and the brain. So it can lead to anything like fuzzy brain, migraines, headaches, that sort of thing. But it can also impact on the eyes because we've only got like 6 major arteries going into behind the eyes. So if we've got inflammation or pain or congestion going on behind the skull, the blood supply to the head just isn't working as optimally as it should. So the sacral chakra is also about creativity, it's about sexuality, it's about owning our place on the earth as a woman. And that's why the sexual reproductive organs are linked in. And there's some weird energy on the planet at the moment with this sort of thing. Okay, that's pulsing quite nicely. Now I'm going to just rest and just relax. So I'm just going to rest my hand on the occiput and make sure the sacral chakra, oh darn, on the sacrum, and make sure the chakra keeps moving. Thank you. Sometimes when you're working with the chakras, you can just feel them jam. They're not going anywhere, but this is moving quite nicely. So once again, stack in sacrum, sacral chakra, and occiput, and hold. And now we're going to see if it unlocks. So I'm doing push to mush and hold, and now that's unlocking, which is lovely. So we've stabilized the base chakra and the sacral chakra. The next one along is the solar plexus chakra. Solar plexus, it's about that seat of ourself. It's where we have belief in ourself and control, and it's very much about our essence of who we are. So when stuff has happened to us in the past and we question ourselves, this one really struggles to stay up and running and firing and working really well. So let's have a look. So this one links in with the liver and gallbladder. So I'll just sort of stack those little muscles in there, the organ areas around the liver and gallbladder. And it also is to do with the pancreas, so it can mess with digestion if it's out long term. And it links in with the maxilla, which is top of the jaw, so I'll stack that in. And it's also about the nervous system. And again, hold, that's locking. And I'm doing push to mush to see if it unlocks, and that one's fine. So that one's locking, and then I'm checking it and it's unlocking, and that's what muscles are supposed to do. And now I've done lengthen to strengthen, and it's locking again. So it's nice and balanced. The next one along is the heart chakra. Actually, I might go down to the 8th chakra for a sec. So the 8th chakra is on the bottom of the feet. We're meant to be on the earth. We're meant to be on grass. We're meant to be on sand. We're meant to be on rocks. And so many of us just work all day long. We don't get out to nature. We get in pain. We can't make ourselves do things. Our feet hurt. We avoid stuff. So the 8th chakra also links in with the adrenal gland and the ethmoid bone. The ethmoids are in here. So we'll just check that one. So I'm just stacking in the energy at the bottom of the feet, then putting the adrenal glands in again, and then putting the ethmoid. And hold. Okay, so that's unlocking. So we'll see whether it's 1st or 3rd stage stress. If it locks now, it's 1st stage stress. If it doesn't lock, it's 3rd stage stress. And hold. Okay, so 3rd. Yeah, right. So base and 8th, both 3rd stage for you. So, yeah, so sort of from here down, there's just exhaustion. So once again, just holding these points, I'm holding the bottom of the foot, and I'm just pulsing the area over the adrenal glands. And Sanu does a lot of work on herself, so these points are actually pulsing quite quickly. Some people it takes a lot longer when they're feeling very congested or very stressed or very exhausted, or they've been stuck in the same pattern year in, year out. I was chatting to a client about that yesterday. She does a lot of work on herself, and she's got a friend who's stuck in bad relationship, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse, and there's just so much unhappiness there, and you think, what is that doing to the nervous system? Going home every day to a situation where you know you're not being respected and loved and cared for, and it's more like going into a battle zone every day. Imagine what that does to every cell in your body. Every cell in the body must be screaming out, what are you doing? I don't think we were meant to live like that. And then the ethmoid bone, I'll get you to hold this one, Sanu, so just nice and gently in there. And tell me when you can feel it pulsing. So a lot of people, when they get sinus stuff, that's an area that they really feel is congested. Yeah. And in flower essence remedies, there's a flower essence called Dagahakea, and it's a real rage and anger that gets stuck in there, but it's for unshed tears. It's for when we're just holding on to all that rage and anger and we can't release it. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'll stack those three in again. So the 8th chakra, bottom of the feet, plus the adrenal glands, plus the ethmoid bone. Once again, asking if it's going to lock. So it's locking. We'll see if it unlocks or it stays locked. So I'm doing push to mush. If it's balanced, it will unlock. So it's balanced. Beautiful. So far we've done the 8th chakra, we've done base, we've done sacral, we've done solar plexus, and now we're up to heart chakra. And I don't know whether you're noticing, but it's getting less bad the further up we go. So it's like down here is just exhausted. Yeah. So heart chakra plus the sternum. So the sternum's between, on the tissue in there, it's that bone that runs the whole way down that the rib cage attaches to. And then the cranial associated with this one is the lacrimal. Now this one, lacrimal bones are in next to the ethmoid bones, so in between, above the bridge of the nose. That's where the tear duct's actually attached to. For this one, I might do something different just because I can. So I'm going to go into a process called LEAP and just see if there's any major emotional gear going on in there. So there's a little bit of old pain and punishment circuitry, but there's escape, submission, freeze, and that might be why the legs are so exhausted. When we want to escape, energetically, the legs are already there. So they've got all this energy driving into the legs, and when we don't get to escape, the energy stays there and it exhausts it. So there's 2 pulse points here. I love doing amygdala work on chakras because when we are under stress, the brain has 1/500th of a second to respond to crisis. So when we don't respond logically and creatively, the amygdala kicks in. And the core patterns are things like fight and flight, rage and anger, escape, submission, freeze, fear, threat, danger. Can switch off our pleasure centers or whack us into an old pain and punishment circuit. They're pulsing quite nicely now. So I love the amygdala stuff. Okay, so once again, heart, sternum, lacrimal bone. See if it locks, hold, and we see if it unlocks. Push to mush, and hold. Beautiful. So the heart chakra is balanced, and this time we did it through the amygdala. The next one is throat chakra. Now you can imagine so many people's throat chakras. Actually, there's probably a lot of them opening up at the moment in the world, given people are saying all sorts of stuff at present. They're speaking their truths, absolutely. So the throat relates to the parietal bones and the hyoid bones in here. It can be linked in with a lot of thyroid stuff, metabolism, but it's we all know when you are sitting there and you're dying to say something and you can't, how the throat actually starts to constrict. It's like your nervous system's going, no, it might not be safe to say that. Don't you speak your truth. Something bad will happen if you do. So the throat chakra, throat, hyoid, parietals, and I'll just stack in the thyroid glands, which are just in there. So once again, we see whether it's first, second, or third stage stress. Is it going to lock? Okay, so it's an unlock, so it will be either a first or a third stage stress. So I do the lengthen to strengthen. If it strengthens, it's first stage stress. If it unlocks, it's third stage stress. Hold. Okay. So this one is in chronic fatigue, so the throat chakra. So once again, I always like doing the chakra very specifically on this one, just because I think everyone's throat chakras really need support these days, and thyroid conditions are going through the roof, and so many of us just stay in situations where we just can't get out and we feel attacked or threatened or challenged, and we need to be able to be in a situation where we can just speak our truths. So if this stays imbalanced long term and you end up with the throat chakra just closing over, you might end up getting lots of throat infections or congestion through the lymph nodes underneath the chin, and that can be quite painful. If it closes everything over, it might even be linked in with things like headaches and migraines, just purely because of worse blood supply going up and down the neck. Now I'll also, because it's third stage stress, I'll also stack in the amygdala again. So what I'm doing there is CV, so central vessel 24, 23, and then I'm stacking in CV16, and then I'm just checking the points associated. So this is an old pain and punishment circuit. So while I do the pain and punishment point, I'm also going, and you can hear Sanu's got that little cough going. Sometimes when there's something really big going on with a client, I can actually feel my throat closing over. Doesn't happen very often. I'm fairly rock solid, sturdy during balances, but just occasionally I go, okay, it's going to be one of those balances. Yeah, so the hyoid bone, which is dude's Adam's apple. So I like to make sure, because sometimes when you actually wiggle that, you can feel it sort of creaking. It's like a joint that's dodgy. And I might also do some Bowen technique moves down through the neck, just to loosen it all up. Are these tender at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're tender little points.
Especially the left side.
Worse on the left than the right. Left side can be to do with feminine issues rather than masculine. Doesn't have to be, but it can be linked to that. Okay. Okay, so once again, throat chakra, hyoid bone, thyroid tissue, parietal bones. Let's recheck and hold. So it's a lock. We'll see if push to mush works. Does it unlock or does it stay locked? Okay, so it's stayed locked. So it's gone from third stage stress, chronic fatigue, to second stage stress, which is overworking. It's like running on adrenaline. Because you're pretty good at speaking your mind, but it takes an emotional toll on you. Yeah, so many of us learn techniques to actually do it, but it can be just as exhausting to do it as to not to do it.
Yeah, I have to build up to it.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we need to do then? I'm going to go through a list in my head. Okay, we're going to do a cranial, no we're not, we're going to do tuning fork combination. So, with tuning forks you need two organs that are out of balance. I'm going to ask the acupuncture points. These relate to specific... first one's governing meridian, so it's above the top lip, and governing is to do with unconscious patterns that are stuck in the spine or in our kundalini. Okay, so then it's pericardium, circ sex, so we need that combination of tuning forks. Okay, so governing, pericardium. So once again, we're talking throat chakra. So this is an old pattern where you felt cornered or defeated. So gee, throat chakra, speaking your truth. Why would you bother if you're feeling cornered and defeated? The flower essence is red helmet orchid. I love red helmet. It's about authority issues. So it's for when we're more likely to not want to do what the school principal says, or You know, when mum says run, you know, we don't. So it's that sort of thing. Rebelliousness, hot-headedness, and selfishness. You would never have been like that.
Never. Just ask my family.
Okay, so I'll read out the affirmation just so you get a bit of an idea, because we have to choose which parts of the affirmation are appropriate for Sanu. So it's, I take responsibility for my attitudes and now choose to kindly, gently, lovingly and supportively dissolve my rebelliousness, my hot-headedness, into all-encompassing love. I make the commitment to kindly, gently, lovingly and supportively express my true self by showing sensitivity, respect and consideration for myself and others. I've got a funny story about red helmet orchid. When I had a boy I was treating a long time ago, and he got really, really cranky. He got really cranky. He stormed out and was very, very angry with the fact that he didn't want anyone doing anything with him and didn't want to have his brain worked on. So his brother was there, and his brother hopped on the table and was being the surrogate for him. And before I could do anything, it said, "No, you need a flower essence. You've got to get a flower essence energy in here." And red helmet orchid showed up, and his brother and I just laughed because we thought, well, red hot-headedness, you know, yeah. Hot-headedness, yeah, that's it. Can you feel it loosening up in there?
Yes.
So each chakra and meridian connects to a different frequency. So the tuning forks are just a quick way of moving some energy that's stuck in our cells. And every cell in the body responds to vibration and sound, which is why things like doing, say, OMs, you know, it's why it's so good for us, because it gets those cells vibrating at a certain rate. It's why music is so good for us. It's just why sound is good in the universe. So once again, stacking throat and hyoid and parietals and thyroid gland. And again, hold. Okay, push to mush, see if it unlocks, and hold. Beautiful. So interesting, the throat chakra's needed the most work so far, so the throat chakra might have actually been blowing all this leg stuff, perhaps. Next one is brow chakra. So the brow chakra links in with the zygoma, so the bone on the side of the face, as well as the pubic bone. And once again, with all sexual harassment stuff and everything, sometimes I do touch the pubic bone if I know someone. Sometimes I just do the energy over the top of it. So to me, it's about the intent of what you're trying to do. So brow chakra, zygoma, pubic bone. And hold, lock, push to mush, hold, unlock. So that one is actually quite balanced in the clear, which is lovely. And then the last one we're going to do is the crown chakra. So the crown chakra relates to the palatine, which is on the roof of the mouth. I might actually, I'll get you to use your tongue. So just put your tongue up on the roof of your mouth. Beautiful, stacked in. And thymus gland. So the thymus gland's in behind the sternum. So I'll just stack that in. And again, hold, beautiful. Push to mush, see if it unlocks, hold. So that one's balanced. So the last two were actually perfectly balanced, and I think the heart chakra was pretty good as well. Yeah, so that's not too bad. So I know that is a complete little chakra balance.
So you don't do the crown, you just do the...
No, we did it.
Oh.
It was fine.
Oh, did that one on that one.
Yeah. Cool. So the crown chakra was great. So we've done the 8th chakra, the base, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the brow, the crown. I'm having one of those days. Anyway, hope that was good fun. See you again soon.